The second phase of the African Union's phased withdrawal of its troops in Somalia was successfully concluded in January 2024. The successful drawdown resulted from close collaboration between the federal government of Somalia, the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia (ATMIS), the United Nations and other international partners. The United Nations Support Office in Somalia, UNSOS, played a key role in ensuring that the drawdown process would go seamlessly as mandated by United Nations Security Council Resolution 2710 by facilitating the overall logistics support plan to oversee the process. UNSOS is part of the Tripartite Technical Committee alongside FGS and ATMIS. This committee oversees the overall planning of the transition of security responsibilities from ATMIS to SSF, and UNSOS's role in logistics support played was a defining factor in the execution of Phase 2 drawdown.
Well, UNSOS is mainly responsible for the provision of logistical support to both ATMIS and SSF during the entire transition, and for that matter, the drawdown. So in terms of the role, our role in this phase 2, we supported the movement of troops from the various FOBs to their staging points so that they could be repatriated back to their home countries. We also facilitated or supported the movement of United-owned equipment, contingent-owned equipment, partner-owned equipment from the FOBs to the sector hubs or the staging areas as well. We also, because we handed over the FOBs to SSF, we undertook recce's, inspected the FOBs and repaired equipment, and as well as rehabilitated some of the FOBs that needed to be rehabilitated. We supported the closure of 2 FOBs. We supported the handover of 8 FOBs to SSF. We also trained their technicians who were taking over the equipment that we had handed over to SSF.
Phase 2 saw the UNSOS team deal with larger numbers than with Phase 1 drawdown, both in terms of the number of troops and volume of equipment that needed to be repatriated and moved.
If I compare what was done in Phase 1, Phase 2 we supported ATMIS a lot, because we saw to the drawdown of 3,000 troops. In Phase 1, it was 2,000 troops with very limited repatriation of contingent-owned equipment. In Phase 2, we supported the repatriation of 3,000 troops and a substantial amount of contingent-owned equipment. So the magnitude of the support that we provided in Phase 2 was, I would say, a bit much more or substantial than Phase 1.
The Somali National Army, which took over the military bases, also required additional support in terms of equipment to further ensure full operational capacity of the bases.
As part of the handover process or handover of FOBs to SSF, UNSOS provides SSF or the SNA contingent that are taking over the FOBs with what we call a basic starter pack. This is basically to help them operate within the FOBs that they were handing over to them. And so we ensure that the camp perimeter or the physical infrastructure is okay for them to take over the entire FOB. And then we provide them with equipment like the water treatment plants, the generators. We installed solar panels, storage facilities that are available, containers and bladders are all provided to enable them operate effectively within the FOB, because we can't just hand over an FOB without ensuring that they have something, basic with them to be able to operate
UNSOS, along with its partners in the Tripartite Committee, carried out joint technical assessment of Phase 1 and Phase 2 to assess challenges faced, lessons learned, as well as document best practices going forward as Phase 3 is to be embarked upon.
In Phase 1, it took us quite some time for FGS and ATMIS to agree on where the FOBs to be closed and handed over and where the troops were to come from. This also happened in Phase 2, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, the delays impact on how we provide support, because with our procurement process in particular, we need a bit more time to be able to secure, for example, third-party contractors to move equipment from the FOBs to the sector hubs, and if we have to repatriate the contingent-owned equipment. The second challenge is what we've realized is that because of the changes in handover dates, the particular FOBs to be taken over, etc., we are looking at having a contract or contracts on standby, so that should there be any ad hoc, request from the FGS and ATMIS, we are able, to provide the support in a timely manner. In terms of the level of collaboration and coordination, I would say it was excellent, and indeed we were satisfied with it, despite the challenges that we had. I would say there was a tripartite engagement between FGS, ATMIS, and UNSOS, and this was right from the strategic to the operational level. At the strategic level, we had our leadership or our principals, the National Security Advisor, the Federal Government of Somalia, the ATMIS SRCC, and the head of UNSOS met regularly. They ensured that they provided those of us, doing the operational planning with guidance. And then at the operational level, we had the tripartite of technical committee where we were all represented, of course, and we ensured that the planning was done together. And so we undertook tripartite visits to the FOBs, inspected the FOBs, and came back and ensured that we did what needed to be done. There was also, as I'm aware, a tripartite communication team that ensured that the messages that came from each entity, was very much in unison. This has been, an interesting time. We learn every time, we undertake this particular task. And as I said earlier, I'm hoping that of all the lessons that, have come out of Phase 1 and Phase 2, we'll be able to improve, our coordination, in particular for Phase 3.
Phase 2 has seen the Somali Security Forces and the federal government of Somalia take over 7 military bases and the closure of 2 FOBs. This is a further testament to the readiness of the Somali people to assume ownership over their security and political affairs now that relative peace and stability have been established in the country.